strain in aortic regurgitation and mitral regurgitation. The speaker for this session is Dr. Shantanu Gupta. He's working at Sen Gupta Hospital and Research Institute, Nagpur. He's a reviewer of several journals, governor of CSI Eco Council 2018-20, past president CSI Vidarbha chapter, president DAI Vidarbha chapter, and he has many publications, and his areas of interest HFpEF, heart, pregnant heart, etc. The chairpersons for this session are Dr. Rajiv Varghese. He's a chief cardiologist and CEO of Match Heart Center, Kochi, professor of medicine at Sri Narayan Institute of Medical Sciences, Kochi. His areas of interest are non-invasive and interventional cardiology, and is practicing for the last 20 years. The other chairperson is Professor Sandeep Rai, professor and unit head, PG Department of Medicine, MGM Institute of Health Sciences, Navi, Mumbai. He's a keynote speaker, United Nations and WHO sponsored Global Health Conference. And he has received Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Lifetime and Achievement Award for research publication and national funding. I hand over the session to the chairperson. Please start the session.
Good morning to all. Thank you, Dr. Manoria.
Welcome to Dr. Shantanu Gupta, and thank you, Dr. Manoria, for organizing such an informative conference. Dr. Shantanu Gupta.
Yeah, I'm just
you can kindly start
my screen. 1 second. So, Dr. Manoria, thank you so much for this invitation. My slides are seen. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, Dr. Mittal briefed about the strain analysis. It was very good, and I'm going to focus on the importance of strain in the valvular lesions of mitral regurgitation and aortic regurgitation. Now, assessment of myocardial function in context of valvular heart disease has been challenging, and LVEF is often unable to disclose the initial LV dysfunction in this group of patients. And the current guidelines recommend valve replacement or repair in presence of symptoms, or if there is a reduced ejection fraction, but the resolution of symptoms or recovery of LV function post-surgery may not be reliably predicted. Now, as the components of cardiac deformation has been defined as longitudinal, circumferential, and radial, the predictors of LV strain in volume lesions, peak strain values increases with increasing preload and increasing contractility, while peak systolic strain decreases both with increasing ventricular size and upload. These are very important because both the lesions of MR and AR are volume dependent lesions. So let me focus on mitral regurgitation. Degenerative mitral regurgitation is a common and a progressive valve disease which has been difficult to manage. And the current guidelines indicate surgery in all symptomatic patients with severe MR, or if the patient is asymptomatic, if he has LV ejection fraction going below 60, LV and systolic dimensions of more than 40, if there is atrial fibrillation, or if there is evidence of pulmonary hypertension. And this is the guidelines which have shown the use of surgery in MR. And as you can see, they have divided into primary MR and into secondary MR. But there is some component called the asymptomatic stage, or stage C, where they have focused that if the LV ejection fraction is maintained, or if there is, I mean, if you can see, if these things are not there, then you go for a periodic monitoring. But this ACC-AHA guidelines, which came in 2014, doesn't incorporate the use of global longitudinal strain. So valve repair in primary MR is considered reasonably low risk in asymptomatic patients with preserved LV ejection fraction, but the optimal timing of this procedure remains controversial. So let's have a case of a 44-year-old male, non-diabetic, normotensive, absolutely asymptomatic, came for a pre-insurance assessment, has a systolic murmur, and as you can see, this is an echo. The LV ejection fraction is 62, and the LV ends systolic dimensions are 38. But as you can see, this patient has a significant MR, couple of more images. There are multiple flows quantifying it to be a severe mitral regurgitation. The global longitudinal strain, which is the cutoff, is around -19. In this patient was around -15. The patient was asymptomatic, but the cardiologist thought that he should go for a mitral valve surgery in spite of the guidelines. The patient didn't go for it. And interestingly, 8 months later was admitted with acute LVF in an atrial fibrillation. And as you can see, these are the images. This is patient is in AF. You can see there is a decrement in the LV ejection fraction, of course, because of atrial fibrillation. The MR is there. This patient had a strain of -50. So why do we need something more than LV ejection fraction? The LVEF is often overestimated in mitral regurgitation as it simply reflects the entrance and the exit of blood in LV. Therefore, LVEF may remain in normal or supernormal range for longer periods in this group of patients. Earlier detection of LV contractile dysfunction is of pivotal importance and favors surgical correction of chronic MR in a timely manner, which theoretically restores normal LV function and life expectancy after surgery. And these are a few data on the use of LV strain in asymptomatic severe MR. So in this paper, they suggested that if a preoperative GLS of less than -18, that means more towards the positive side, was an independent predictor of post-operative LV dysfunction. So the cutoff was -18. More work here, a cutoff of -19.9 was demonstrated to have a major independent predictor of long-term LV dysfunction. So this is more cases. This patient had, again, asymptomatic, severe MR, LV and systolic dimensions of around 40. Global strain was -22. The patient, so this was a new study which was presented in JACC Imaging, and they have said that they're focusing on asymptomatic patients who are having severe MR with LV and systolic dimension of more than 40. And as you can see, if the LV and systolic dimension goes on increasing, goes for surgery. But if it is between 40 to 45, or the LV ejection fraction is more than 60, and if there is a new onset AF as the previous patient, or has a PA, pulmonary arterial hypertension, goes for surgery. But if it is no, then a GLS cutoff of -19 has been taken and has been suggested. If it is preserved, you can follow up. But if it is less than -19, like -18, -14, then this patient should be subjected for a surgery, even if the LV ejection fraction is maintained. Coming to AR, AR is again a chronic volume overload, which leads to progressive LV enlargement and LV dysfunction. And the current guidelines indicate surgery in symptomatic patients with severe AR, or if the patient is asymptomatic, when the LV and systolic dimension is more than 50 mm, or if the LV ejection fraction decreases below 50%. So this is the guidelines of AVR in AR. As you can see, you have to look at all the parameters. But in asymptomatic case, it says that if you're going for other cardiac surgery, then you can go for AVR. But if these are the things which have focused on LV ejection fraction and LV and systolic dimensions and LV and diastolic dimensions, but there is no role of strain in this 2014 guidelines. So a case, 40 years old, hypertensive, since 3 months, no symptoms, occasional smoker. And as you can see, this patient has aortic regurgitation with this kind of dimensions, a preserved LV ejection fraction of around 55%. But the global launches strain was going down. It was around -15. The patient was advised follow-up according to the guidelines and with an optimal medical management. But 2 years later, presented to the OPD with NYHA class 3 symptoms. And as you can see, this patient's LV ejection fraction has gone down. It went to 55 to almost around 40, 45. And these are more data, EF going down. So in AR, the compensatory increase in stroke volume consequent to augmented volume load and increased sphericity of LV is responsible for a prolonged maintenance of global circumferential function, and hence the LV ejection fraction. And at an early stage, a decrease in LV function starts in the subendocardium, where the GLS can be helpful and can give you an understanding of looking at the LV dysfunction by looking at the global launches strain. So these are the reports which have shown that reduced myocardial strain, systolic strain rate, and early diastolic strain rate can be associated with disease progression during conservative management with impaired outcome after surgery. And the cutoff here has been given as around -18 as a best cutoff for identifying disease progression, and a cutoff of -14 was a predictive of poor outcome in patients of asymptomatic severe AR who are going for aortic valve replacement. More data from Dr. Tom Marwick showing that in patients in moderate to severe AR, resting LV strain an exercise tricuspid TAPSE, and an RV strain at rest are all independent predictors of early AVR. So let me conclude that a proper timing of mitral valve surgery in degenerative mitral regurgitation who are asymptomatic and aortic valve surgery for asymptomatic severe AR remains still controversial. The practice of observing these patients and waiting for symptoms to occur or an echo parameter for decrease in LVF has been called into question now, and strain imaging does provide incremental information in identifying subclinical LV dysfunction in this group of patients and can help in optimizing the timing of surgery. Thank you so much.
Insights from the world's best medical minds. You are watching therightdoctors.com.